You have this near death experience.
I'm involved in a car crash. I immediately leave my body, and I'm finding myself in this most beautiful place ever. Luminous, soft, loving, calm, accepting. I was severely wounded, on the edge of not leaving my physical body, but none of that mattered at that moment. All that mattered was where I was floating. I guess that's the most fitting word that I usually find. Like we were all beyond the initial challenge of having twins and a toddler. We look using shamanic journeying. The main tool is shamanic journeying. We track and we look in the field. Where is the source for the dense relationship? We don't just clean the density between energetically between two humans. We look, okay, so where does it come from? Where did it start? And it makes the practices very powerful. The beauty is that all of us journey. We're not aware of it. We don't call it shamanic journeying or guided meditations, or we say we dream, we say we daydream. We go through this small barrier between
Healing those family dynamics and healing, those family conflicts that some of us may have.
It's like you can choose to heal one way, your friend in another way. I can choose to heal in a different way. Sometimes we feel like we're moving forward and we're healing, and others are staying behind just to see that they went around and are forward because they took a different route. They took their route and we took our route. Connected to energies, I speak the spiritual language. I completely lost it. And that's okay. That's how they see me. I'm good. I'm happy as I am. My family accepts me. That's enough. Completely different story when you realize that that little baby, cute as they are huge souls, evolved beings.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Transformation to Expansion. My name is Lajwa Bradley, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Dr. Ifrat Shokef, and I'm so grateful to have her here on the show. Dr. Ifrat walks with the knowing that everything is possible if we follow our intuition and say yes to the invitations the universe graciously offers us. She guides parents in parenting from their essence and empowers them to choose to become the potential that their child chose them for. And we're going to talk about that more on the show. Ifrat is a shamanic energy healing practitioner working with children, teens, and families, and the author of The Promise We Made. 3 universal soul promises we made to our children, near-death experience, and the parenting teachings it invites. Please welcome Dr. Ifrat to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversations.
Me too. I mean, we talked a little bit beforehand, and I'm really excited for everything that we have to talk about, especially when it comes to this new idea to some that, our children actually chose us. And they chose, okay, I want to be with this couple, or I want to be with these, with these two. Um, it's to really help them become the best version of themselves. And I really love that. I love that concept. So let's go ahead and dig a little deeper though. Well, actually, let's start on the surface, but also dig deep. So I know, from, not just reading your book, but also, looking at other videos with you and really, you know, learning more about you. You have this near death experience that really triggered the work that you do now. Can you just talk a little bit about what that experience was and how that really empowered you to really shift your perspective on, what people perceive as like the family unit?
Sure. I often like sharing my story starting 5 days earlier because I think it offers the anchoring of the whole journey, the quest. I feel I was invited to the quest, climb on a high mountain. Maybe that's a better description. I was invited to say yes to because near death experiences are. I personally, I don't perceive them as initiations, but as an invitation to show up. Maybe doors that opens and we can enter them or we can avoid entering them, like many other spiritually transformative experiences. Um, so a few days before my near death experience, I celebrated. I being a mom to three. My twins were 13 months old, and I felt like I was like we were all beyond the initial challenge of having twins and a toddler. And it was a celebration with other moms in the communities, many babies. And in my background, I come from organizational social psychology, group facilitation. So I organized the circle of moms, and I invited them to each share what motherhood means for her. Little did I know that it was like writing in the sky the question that will be leading me later on. I all the mothers shared beautiful shares, and I was last. I was a host, and I had so many things I wanted to share, and so much gratitude I wanted to express to this community, which later was so helpful and embracing with everything that happened to us. But I choked on my words. I couldn't say anything, and all I managed to whisper was, "I want to be their mom." And that was a prayer. Again, another prayer, another, those little signs that happened before, and we don't notice them, and we can understand them only in retrospect. But this is what took place. Five days later, I'm involved in a car crash. I immediately leave my body, and I'm finding myself in this most beautiful place ever. Luminous, soft, loving, calm, accepting. I don't remember the car crash. I remember a sense of a boom. Another car crashed in. She lost control of her car, tried to fix it, left, and I was there, and we bumped into one another. I was severely wounded, on the edge of not leaving my physical body, but none of that mattered at that moment. All that mattered was where I was floating. I guess that's the most fitting word that I usually find. At first I was just in this cloud of love, and just it's not like that, but I find it equivalent in a way that moment when you go to sleep at the end of the day and you lie in bed and you have this sigh of relief. The day is over. Even if it was a great day, it's really nice to get into that relaxed mode, and everything relaxes. Your body just lets go. So it was letting go, really deeply letting go into those clouds of it is so soft, so luminous. I talk about it, and I always feel it in my cells again. It's like it's embodied in my physical, although it didn't happen to my physical body, but my energy field. As that was taking place, I started noticing that I was floating forward, and that I was not floating forward alone. There were other beings, with a human figure mostly, floating forward with me. It wasn't any order, and there was distance between us, but I could see them. We were floating forward somewhere. Again, didn't mind at all, didn't ask questions. Where am I? It felt both really familiar and yet new and exciting and so embracing. And it was bubbling into me. It was like the senses of love, the essence that we all are. At first surrounding me and then bubbling into me until I felt it was in, and I remembered that this is what I'm made of. This is what we're all made of. So I was embracing that sense and the deep acceptance that I was perfect as I am. Nothing mattered. Not aware of my broken body, just embraced in that acceptance and that deep peace that and letting go that comes with knowing we're fine, we're okay as we are. Floating forward, embracing that sense, also hearing like a little music at the very far, extraordinary luminosity all around. And then I noticed that other beings are coming forward and embracing those that are floating forward with me. Beautiful embracing. Some of them had like human form, some of them had looked like long, luminous forms. Um, an orb of light that felt like another being coming to embrace. Lots of love. Again, nothing mattered to those returning. Later, I understood that these were people that these were souls or energy of people who left their finished their human journey and were embraced by loved ones in order to make the transition easier to so they would understand what was going on. They would embrace, they would meet, they would float forward. I found myself reaching this boundary. I couldn't float forward anymore, and nobody came forward to me at at the beginning. But again, I didn't care. It was so I was enjoying the moment. It's about the seconds. It's not time and other spaces really works differently, as we all know from meditations and journeying. We have those experiences. Um, Embracing the love that I am. At some point, a figure did come forward to me. I recognized it at that time as my grandfather. Um, it looked like my grandfather. It didn't look like my grandfather. There was something about the energy that told me this is who he was. Later, and I find that for some reason I'm always guided to share this when I share my story. Later, I started questioning, was it really the essence of my grandfather?
Mm.
Or was it my guide, one of my guides, one of my higher guidance, um, taking the form of my grandfather so that I would recognize it? I asked this question because we recognize guidance not by their looks, but by their frequency, their vibration. And I know I've met this vibration many, many times forward. So
Mm.
that was taking place. And after this telepathic communication, knowing that all is well, um, um, grandfather slash guide invited me to this most beautiful white shimmering balcony, and we stood fairly at the edge of it, and I was invited to watch, and I never know if we were floating or flying beyond, above places on earth. Was it a video shown to me? Was it earth moving below us? I don't know how the movement took place, um, but I was seeing a lot of episodes of human relationships. That was a core, and specifically within those human relationships, fairly a lot of parenting and
Mhm.
relationships with our children, or children just on their own, and a lot of a lot of the beauty of Earth. Earth is so beautiful, and relationships, as much as they challenge us, are beautiful. They give us so much when we just open when we're open to embrace. And but I also saw a lot of sad situations reflecting the confusion humanity is walking, and reflecting many um, small, sometimes even how I was seeing like how really really small choices are confusing and creating the opposite of what the intention behind them was. So that was
Mhm.
happening for a long time. I saw a lot, and in terms of it felt like days, and I was just absorbing, and it was very clear that I wasn't to understand what I was absorbing. There were no explanations. I was just seeing it all, until a point when it was very clear to me I needed to go back, and I was giving that message. um, your time is up, you can't stay here. I wasn't given a choice to stay, and as that message was given, I was already being sent back, floating
Mhm.
backwards, and then falling into my horribly bleeding, broken human body. Um, And from that point on, I was on a journey of recovery, healing. I was in the ICU, spent a lot of time in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
came in and out of the hospital for additional operations and treatments. And there was one motivation to heal. And that one motivation was my daughters. But I wasn't participating in any of the care. So I was trying to figure out, I guess I was trying to find answers to two questions. One was, what makes me their mom when I'm not doing anything? What is there beyond the doing? I'm not doing laundry. I'm not cooking their food. I'm not feeding them. I'm not bathing them. I'm not changing their diapers. I'm not reading a story. I'm not even hugging because any touch was impossible in the first few months. What makes me their mom if I'm not doing anything? I was barely sitting on the sofa, half asleep, blurred from painkillers and from leaving to. I was constantly going back to those spaces of my near-death experience, the luminous fields of love, and and I really wanted to find that essence, and that essence was important to me. And the other piece that was guiding me was I had such an amazing experience. How do I share this sense that was walking with me in my physical while I was also recovering and in pain? It was like this duality of being whole in a situation, which you look at it, this is not whole. You look at it from the side, everything is broken, everything is a mess, but that mess was the perfect as it was meant to be for that moment. It was where I was supposed to be in order for me to grow and serve the way I am trying to serve now. And while looking for ways to share my story and my experience and what I learned, not as a story. And they have read my book. They're teens now, and they read my book, and they read my book more than once. I think they can share it by heart. They could interview
No.
here instead of me. The story.
One day, next time.
They're amazing. I look at them and I say, okay, they're growing up to be good humans, and they're amazing teachers. Um, I noticed that when I listen to my new knowings, it could be about small little details about how the things were managed in the house. My parents moved with us, and together with my husband, they were trying to manage the chaos of four babies because there were my three daughters, and I was like a baby myself. I needed constant care. When I was aligned to those little knowings that came through me.
So, have you ever felt like you're meant for more? You're here for a reason. Something inside of you knows that there's more. There's more purpose. There's more connection. There's more fulfillment. There's more love to be enjoyed in this life. What if all of that was here right now? Your life easier to navigate. Your dreams easier to manifest. You can live in a life of ease, even in these uncertain times with Pluto being in Aquarius. Your community of expansion is right here at your fingertips. From the moment you enter, you feel the sense of release and comfort. No more wondering if all those downloads you got as a kid were just random thoughts. No more wondering that time you had telepathy, thinking that it was just a fluke. Be with the people you know are here for you. Join our ever-expanding community on Patreon for free. And for those of you who ask, yes, the Wellness Library is included. I love y'all so much. Let's get back to the show. Peace.
I had seconds and then moments and then a few minutes and then hours of feeling heaven on earth. I was feeling in my literal human mess and challenges. I was feeling as if I was in those spaces of other dimensions of love, of essence. And that was giving me both the answers to both questions, because it was about finding ways. A mom is the one who promised her children, and that those children who chose us trusted would create the conditions that that child, that soul, that being that chose her needs in order for them to manage to stay aligned to who they are, so that they walk the path, the blueprint, whatever they wish to experience, learn, engage, and serve. And we create that. And it was also the way of sharing their mom's story, because if I am raising them in ways that they know how to align and stay aligned with the truth that each of them knows, then I am giving them, I'm offering them, I'm gifting them the teachings I received, because they have moments of living heaven on earth. And it's very hard to live heaven on earth constantly with so much confusion around us. But when we have those moments, we remember who we are. And that's a compass guiding us in every little actions in our days. So maybe I shared more than you asked about, but yeah, that's a story, and that's how I am where I am today in a way. Yeah.
I'm just here listening because it's such an interesting story. And I mean, and for those of you guys who don't know, it's near death experience is like, no, she really left her body. Like, it's like, like you really left your body. Then well, I mean, you were told, no, you got to go back. Some people, I know with near death experiences, some people go and then they tell them they have a choice and then they decide to go back.
Yeah.
But they were like, nope, this is just part of what you're experiencing in this lifetime. You need to go back in that human body and finish the work that you're here to do. But I really love that you then connected it to this concept of heaven on earth. That is something that I'm such a huge advocate about. It's something that I really empowered my audience and even just the people that I surround myself with to really know that is how we're supposed to live. But this concept of heaven on earth, it's really beautiful because it is the way that we are supposed to be experiencing this human experience. And it is like a beautiful process and a beautiful way of just living life and being in that truth of like, this really was supposed, like, not, I don't want to say supposed to be, but this is paradise, right? This is supposed to be like a paradise. And yes, at this time that we have like incarnated in, um, it's moving towards that paradise for some, right? And we're getting into this like 3D 5D split, which I think now we're definitely truly experiencing. I know people had talked about this for the past couple of years, but I think now in this moment is when we're really seeing that. And so there are people who are choosing to say, you know what, I do want to live in heaven on earth. I'm going to step into that energy. I'm going to step into that frequency. And so can we talk a little bit more about that? What does heaven on earth mean to you, and how can more people really empower themselves to live in that truth?
So I think there is a difference. Sadly, there's still a difference between what we can do as individuals, and then as we grow into our families, our communities, and as a larger collective, when we see that confusion and those gaps between perspectives and how people are choosing to lead their lives. It's the heaven on earth for me is an experience of deep joy. And that deep joy can also show up when we're experiencing a challenge. When I see one of my daughters experience a challenge and I need to take those moments or hours or days to observe and figure out how we are adjusting how we walk as a family in order to realign as a family. So the joy is not always, just the ease and grace, everything is just fun, but it's also the joy of growth, the joy of walking a path. Again, if we take that mountain, climbing a high mountain, then you sweat and it's challenging, and at moments you want to stop, but you still know you want to do this. And that's part of what you're here to do, and you chose to go on that hike. It's about becoming conscious and aware of our choices. And by each choice that we make consciously and in awareness, and sometimes that may be like, I have a teen I'm working with that she constantly chose to stay in school and not homeschool, although her mom invited her to be homeschooled like we homeschool our daughters. And she said, These are the advantages, these are the disadvantages. I am choosing to stay at school. She knows this was not the best decision for her. But in awareness, pros and cons, she made a conscious choice. She
Mm-hmm.
co created, she was creating her reality. Every choice we make, what we feed our body with the extra bite, we take it in or not, all those pieces are if we bring awareness to them, we create our reality. And when we consciously choose to create our reality, we raise our vibration merely because we are aligning as best as we can in the circumstances to our intention, to what we came here to be. I think that's an option available for almost all humans. There are places where it's harder, circumstances where it's harder. Um, but for most humans, it's not about circumstances coming from the outside. It's about a deep choice to embrace who they are and start showing up. So the starting point of one person and another person, depending also on circumstances, may differ. What how much can they expand their choices, what are the fields and aspects they can be choice makers in, may differ, but the choice to heal ourselves with so much information available to us worldwide through the internet is available to everyone. So we can give ourselves excuses and we can say it's hard, and it's hard to heal. Healing is a difficult, challenging process. But when we choose to go through the healing, that's a choice we make. And we can do it top down through energy healing and all kinds of solving, resolving big issues, big soul issues. And we can also do it bottom up by reducing our take of coffee, instead of 5 cups of tea, to uh, uh,
Mm-hmm.
2 cups of coffee a day, or bring in more vegetables and fruit. Not necessarily eliminate other stuff, just consciously give our body the information that we're trying. In my book, The Promise We Made, one of the promises I'm talking about, I refer to it as the motion of love. It's a promise to children that we would do our best to align to who we are. And when a child, especially in the first years, receives this energetic communication, the mom realizes, okay, I'm a mom now, and I have this child that I want the world for. And I'm willing to do everything I didn't do for myself. Children are such a big motivation for so many. I'm willing to do everything, but it takes time because maybe she has had all kinds of experiences that closed on her while she was growing up in this lifetime. Maybe she's carrying stuff from other lifetimes that she needs time to resolve. It takes time. You can't resolve all of it at once. It's miracles happen, but for most of us, it's one step at a time. But that motion of taking responsibility, of of healing, sent that energetic communication to the child saying, I'm doing my best. Now, that mom is not staying at the I'm doing my best, because then we will get back to those psychological concepts of the good enough mother, and I'm not happy with a good enough mother. I'm happy with a mom constantly in an effort to grow, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. Each one of us, we have our pace, we have our timing, we have our capabilities. um, but being in continuous motion sends an amazing energetic communication. Stay true to who you are. I'm listening. I'm hearing the invitation you're giving me. Thank you, child. Now I'm doing my best. And that best may take time, but I'm doing my best and I'm becoming more and more aware. And again, our starting points will be different, and our children chose us for a different reason.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the alignment of all the pieces in the puzzle. It's like that phase of when you have all the pieces of the puzzle already spread on the floor and grouped into the colors, and you're ready to start putting them in. But you need that preparation, that process. It doesn't happen at once to put everything together.
Yeah, so what you're talking about really is like conscious parenting, right?
A step beyond conscious parenting.
Ooh, okay. So how would you say that's beyond conscious parenting?
Conscious parenting invites us to be conscious of our choices, our children needs, our reactions. Some more intentional parenting perspectives invite us to um, match our emotions with that of the child, addressing their needs, or just listening. There are all kinds of approaches that we become choice makers within our parenting. When we talk about spiritually aware parenting and bringing in that spiritual awareness, not just an awareness of I'm conscious that my child is now hungry. I'm conscious that these friends from their class makes them happy and are good for them, and these are not, or I need to spend an hour with them. We take it a level higher. We expand it into that understanding that we are on a shared journey. When we're on a shared journey, it's not I'm the authority as a parent and the child needs to do what I'm telling them to do, or
Mm-hmm.
adjust themselves to us. It invites a shared listening, both that of the child and that of the parents, understanding their teachers for us, and that every invitation they offer on that spiritual journey of growth is an invitation for us to grow with them. So we take that um, perspective and we nurture it with the understanding that we are spiritual beings. And it is one thing to parent a child within the concept of this 3D world. It's a completely different story when you realize that that little baby, dependent on diapers, on your feeding, needing you for everything, cute as they are huge souls, evolved beings. The whole perspective on how we look at them changes. And accordingly, what we offer in exchange in that reciprocity in our relationships. So some do incorporate those pieces in conscious parenting. Most conscious parenting stops at some point, and we needed to expand it into that spiritual realm and being spiritual being, our energy field, the energetic interactions between parents and children, which happens all the time, and all those pieces that invite us to offer guidance which is beyond just the literal of raising them into managing to be independent adults, hopefully happy independent adults, and maybe also independent adults and happy and also good humans in the way they serve the world. You know, it's what do we offer? And then there is that piece of offering them the growth of their soul and that
Mm.
adventure they came here for, not struggling, but enjoying the process because what is taking place is what they asked for in their blueprint. I hope I'm not confusing you. There's so many pieces to this. So
Yeah, there is, but it's really great that you broke it down because one thing that you said was super pointed was that, seeing your children as evolved souls that are really here to teach you, right? And you help them kind of be the best version that they're trying to be, over their life. But they're really here to teach you. And, I think for a lot of people, um, I mean, especially for me, I'm a millennial. We deal with an older generation, at least for my, talking about my parents, where they don't really come from that perspective, right?
yeah,
And so I think for a lot of people, this may cause conflict within the family, or because they're coming from like a different perspective, or the child may be on a different path than the parents, and the parents don't really see eye to eye. This is like a conversation I have with a lot of my friends. Like, we're really, my whole generation, I think we're in this era where we're really open to healing and to transforming, right? But when it comes to transforming ourselves, then we're like, oh, if I can do it, our whole family can do it, right? But then we try to change our family, and then we get into conflict. So can you just talk about healing those family dynamics, and healing those family conflicts that some of us may have? Like, what would you recommend is a good way of either starting that conversation, or helping us go through that process as smoothly as possible?
so a number of thoughts come to my mind. First, I think we need to remember is that as our children choose us, we chose our parents. And for me, it was understanding this. Like I said, okay, so my girls chose me. What does that mean? And wait, if they chose me, then that means I chose my parents. What does that mean? You know, like all the challenges. And I had a good childhood, but I had my share of challenges. And in my book, and there is I offer a simple guided journey, and there is a recording that people can download as part of the supporting material for this book for free, a recording of this journey, inviting the observation of the luminosity of our parents. Now you need to do this only, you can do this only if you have permission, not just soul permission, but literal permission of asking your parents, is it okay if I look at your energy field for 5 minutes? You know, like a simple question. Most parents have no problem with it. And if they have a problem with it, then look at the luminosity of your friend or somebody at the age of your parents, if you can. And when we do this 5 minute, 10 minute observation, we suddenly see they're light beings as well. They're luminous. Mm-hmm. And we can start to tap into those pieces of why did we choose them. And there are personal reasons, because they have blue eyes, or because they have this and this profession, or because this and this and this are the challenges they went through. And they're going to invite us to face the same challenges so that we become choice makers, so that we would consciously make a choice to be who we are and not just have it handed over to us without that conscious piece. So many pieces to those personal decisions. And sometimes they are on the opposite way. They would offer us a challenge to become who we are. For me, it's like a fairly simple example. I come from a very academic family. I needed to choose to agree to express what others and some in my background would still say I'm crazy about. You know, I lost it. Connected to energies, I speak the spiritual language, I completely lost it. And that's okay. That's how they see me. I'm good. I'm happy as I am. My family accepts me. That's enough. So, but I needed to choose. And it was very hard for me for many years to make that choice, because I was coming from a very specific line of thinking, way of viewing the words, way of needing proof for everything, and so forth. So we choose about all kinds of elements. What we also need to remember, that a lot of the healing that we bring to ourselves ripples down 7 generations forward, 7 generations back. Now think about rippling something 7 generations back. How many cousins, if you go back, how many cousins does it send it on the flat lines alive? Now somebody can pick up that, not even in awareness, that pick up that energetic healing and embrace it. Somebody can say no. And saying no does not mean that they're not taking in the healing or wanting the healing. It's just saying that they need to go through a different route on how they heal themselves. And yes, there are those few who don't change. In my first year of embracing the energy and my abilities and my ability to journey and the healing I was going through, I was very frustrated, especially with my mom, because I felt she was really, really holding on to her beliefs and who she was. And then something started to shift. And she did not consciously do anything for that shift. What took place was that our healing as a my healing, my daughter's healing, together with my husband as a family, as a unit, rippled to many branches of the family. And she too could pick up on that. And then something really deeply shifted in our relationship because she picked up on that. Now, will all parents do that? No. Some are stuck in their own wounding. And I think we need to be compassionate because in most cases, it's something that came down to them from their parents, from generations. And some people have the power and the ability to take responsibility and to do what they can. Some people are more limited in what they can do. And them not choosing how we choose life does not
Mhm.
mean they don't love us dearly and want the best for us. Also, it's like you can choose to heal one way, your friend in another way. I can choose to heal in a different way. Sometimes we feel like we're moving forward and we're healing, and others are staying behind just to see that they went around and are forward because they took a different route. They took their route and we took our route. And sometimes those routes that we think are detours, or we look at others doing them and we think that's not for me, are an actual detour or not, or the right path. There's so there is more that we don't know than
Mhm.
what we do know. So I guess it returns back to staying aligned in the moment. Just you know something for yourself, follow it,
Mhm.
trust it, respect others,
Mhm.
respect other human
Mhm.
beings who are walking maybe a different path with a lot of compassion, a lot of also self compassion, and but also be a choice maker. If there is a, a gathering that you're just gonna be really suffering in, don't go.
Mhm.
That's okay as well. You know, making our choices in aligned ways, really, really, really listening within. I call those soul moments of you know something and you just okay, there is a great party and everybody's gonna be there and but you know this party is not for you. Then don't go. Trust what you know. It's those little pieces, little moments that when we start listening to them, everything starts to align.
Yeah, it's that process that you talked about earlier of trusting and following your intuition, right? And
Yeah.
just knowing that, whatever choice or opportunity you're presented with, is the right one for you. When it comes to like, making these choices, making these decisions, you're working with your intuition, which is actually working with like your soul's alignment, right? What you're really meant to experience instead of going out of your way to experience certain things, if that makes sense. And in your
Yes.
book, you kind of talk about this. You talk about, your soul's promise. How does your soul's promise tie into this process of just trusting and living in alignment and just living with your intuition and knowing that that's going to be the best way to navigate life?
You're taking some time off and you're planning to travel a few countries, and you know that you're going to need this and this sum of money, and these are the locations you want to visit, and these are the attractions you want to enjoy, and you want to do this hike and you want to go there and you want to eat that food, and you have your plan mapped out. And you also know that you might need to navigate a few things and you're not sure about that, but those are pieces that you're intentionally and in awareness leave blank and open to exploration. And then on the day you land, there is a horrible storm and all the roads are blocked for 3 weeks. And now you need to change your plans and you need to adjust it to the situation. To my understanding, as I view things and based on the information and type of downloads I received, a soul or a being coming to this journey is planning a vacation. They're going on an adventure, and it's going to be beautiful and perfect and just as they planned. If they've been here a few times, like many souls, they know that things might go wrong, but with that loving, optimistic nature, which is in our essence, we hope for it all to be just perfect and good.
Mm-hmm.
And then we land, and from the moment we're born, more babies are born and are taken away from their mom into the infant care. I'm not, then are immediately embraced by their mom and just in contact with her, staying safe. From the moment they're born, everything that happens during pregnancy, so many women go through stressed pregnancies. So that already gives a lot of information, and no judgment about that stress. You're trying to work as much as you can in order to provide. You have other children you need to provide. It's literal conditions people are having to deal with, but those newcomers to us are exposed to that confusion from early on, and then they try to navigate. The way to navigate is to stay connected. So we both need to anchor into earth, anchor to this physical, learn it. And you see little babies, they learn their physical. They learn what that physical container can do. What is it about? What voices can it make? What voices would create the reaction of another? What voices will make others more relaxed? What voices will not? What? How do I get attention? How do I get my needs met? There's so many little pieces to that. And again, few babies relatively in the world just receive what they need, which is the ideal situation. And then there is that confusion of embodiment, but at the same time that we need to embody, we need to keep our flow open. So children come here, and what many of us do, and I think that many new parents are trying to do differently, which is really, really, really beautiful. That's what I witnessed in the spiritually aware families community and people that I work with. They're trying to both help their kids embody their physical. And embodying our physical body is not an easy process. A lot of souls and beings realize what they came here for, and they don't want to be here. So they constantly fly out of their body, leave their body, come in and go. A lot of floaty children, that's part of the challenge, especially when they're young. But we want to keep them at the same time integrated within their spiritual essence. And that piece is about staying connected to our truths, being able to listen, helping our kids. Not what we often do is we guide them on how things work here. We guide them on how things work where we are in these times. But what they really need from us is that integrated piece. And when we have that integrated piece, and I'm hopefully returning to your question, that alignment, that knowing that goes through our bodies speak. That knowing, I'm not talking about people that are communicating with guidance and going on spiritual journeys, shamanic journeys, like myself. I need that, but that does not make me more spiritual than somebody who's just embodying things with their body and following their path. That's what we are. That's spiritual. Spiritual is following your path. And when we teach kids to listen to that and trust and follow those intuitions, we give them the key to be both here and aligned to who they are. No one knows the signs that we each posted for ourselves. We don't know the signs that we posted for ourselves. It's only those moments that we say, oh, yes, I've been here before, but I haven't been here before. It's like a deja vu or a sign or a moment that we know we are aligned. We are where we are supposed to be. And it doesn't have to align to reality, mental reality. When we schools take kids into their brain, and then we lose it. It's like that stage of things I'm sure you've talked about in the show: brain heart coherence, listening to our hearts, all that piece of balance of our mental abilities are really important, but they're nothing if we're not connected to our hearts, listening, knowing our own truths. And that's when we stay aligned. That's a key for staying aligned. Listening, and also not being afraid to say yes to strange invitations or knowings, or be curious. Stay curious. We are curious in nature, and fear kind of narrows us. So I think that's also an important piece of that. Definitely, as parents, we need to be aware of how we help our kids, how we create conditions that are not fearful and not stressful, so that they can stay aligned. Because if their system shuts down, their nervous system shuts down, they can't listen. Nobody can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, right. I think when you're at that point, like you said, where your nervous system shuts down, it's like there's no listening going on at that point. It's just like I think at that point you just need to like take a pause and just take a break, really. Um, and it's really important to recognize that too, and then to teach your kids that too. If this happens, if you see somebody experiencing this, just let them take a break, and really empower them to just realign themselves. So I think in that point you're not aligned anymore, so you just need to do a little bit of realignment. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so interesting because you've had so many really unique experiences that I think a lot of people haven't had. Your near-death experience, and you're also a shaman, right? So can you talk about how like shamanic healing plays a key role for you, not just as an individual, but also as a mother within a family?
So I think there's I'm very grateful I found the shamanic path, as I was integrating the new doors that opened, my ability to travel into other dimensions, opening after my near death experience. I was looking for a framework, and for me, this framework of shamanic perspective really it met my heart. I think a lot of people find that when they read indigenous wisdom and the wisdom of those that remember our connection and relationship and reciprocity with earth, something awakens within us. It's you can't ignore it. It's something happens within, and so that was a big piece for me. It all that it's deep ethics of our human walk, of who we are, and our role in all of our creations, and that really resonated for me. And I think that as a piece, as a philosophy, as a way to look at life, guides almost everything in my parenting, because that's the message I'm trying to offer, and not in I'm doing my best to walk my talk. So their connection with the land and how we treat others, and all those pieces, and it's an interpretation which is ours based on where we live, the type of family we are, our background. It's not like somebody else would have done it, but it's a framework that my daughters love, and we travel a lot, and we've been to um, uh, various pueblos and tribes in the U.S. and in other places, where I looked at them, I said they're home. So it's somewhere I know that we as a family find it as a home in the ideas and in the location, and in we were in we lived in a place where the land was so nourished that you could feel it's okay, it's balanced, it's happy, which is very different from where I am. So that is one piece. And the shamanic practices, they are powerful practices for healing, and they are fast practices for healing, because the practices that I was taught, they go directly to the source. There is not walking around. There's not a lot of talk or a lot. We look using shamanic journeying. The main tool is shamanic journeying. We track and we look in the field of that client or other being. Where is the source for that wounding, for that pattern, for that pain, for that challenge, for that? Where is the source for that dense relationship? We don't just clean the density energetically between two humans. We look, okay, so where does it come from? Where did it start? And it makes the practices very powerful. And the beauty with shamanic journeying, as a tool that takes as a basic tool that we expand on, and there are a lot of shamanic practices. I am specifically using more of those that we go into other states and journey to other dimensions, and mediate healing for others and for ourselves through shamanic journeying. The beauty is that all of us journey. We're not aware of it. We don't call it shamanic journeying or guided meditations, or we say we dream, we say we daydream. We go through this small barrier between things that our mind makes up, and suddenly there are spaces that are our own, and they are nourishing for us, and they are healing for us. And children journey. I never met a child who does not journey. So maybe my sample is not very representative, because I meet spiritually aware children, those sensitive kids that feel energy and so forth, but they all journey. and you just give them a name and you teach them the map and you teach them what is safe and what are the boundaries and what are the ethics of proper shamanic journeying. And that is a door for tremendous healing that
Mm.
each of us can offer ourselves. And that piece of healing through shamanic journeying is very powerful, very quick. A lot of tools you can use on yourself, a lot of tools children and teens can use for themselves. So, and I guess one last piece, which is, I think it comes from a lot of philosophies. For me, it came through my shamanic studies and work. That piece of taking responsibility, that piece of
Mm-hmm.
understanding that if something activates me, I can blame another until the end of time. But the only way for me to change something is if I say, okay, it activated me because it pushed this and this and this button. And I'm responsible for myself and I'm now doing everything I can. I'm willing to see, to know, to learn, to heal in order to take that button and not have it anymore. And then we start enjoying the world because we have less buttons. Now we all have buttons and we all need to heal. And it's a process and it takes time. But when we agree to heal everything that activates us, we walk as co-creators. We take responsibility on who we are. And when we take responsibility on who we are, we also ripple that outside. And children understand this notion much better than adults. Adults have excuses. We're busy. We need to do this. We need to do that. And kids have, especially very highly spiritually aware ones. It's amazing to see. This idea just clicks. It clicks, and there are amazing tools that kids can use. They use them anyway. This is maybe an important piece to say. Kids use spiritual tools and energetic tools anyway. So, and I find it very important to nourish the tools that they use. They use them intuitively. It's a knowing coming within them, but also gives them frameworks to understand and talk about it. So they share it with us, and then we nurture that essence. We give them the possibility to be able to stay aligned as much as possible, and it is very difficult in the confusion around us. It is very difficult, but it is also possible.
Yeah, I mean, it just reminded me of all those days when I was a kid. I would daydream, and even like I don't know. I'm like, do kids still do this? But like, we would always imagine, like me and my friend, we would like imagine ourselves in different worlds or whatever, and we would just like play pretend, like
Kids do
and make
that.
up our
Yeah.
own stories. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I was like, do they still? Because I know with like the technology, it might be a little different, but yeah, but yeah, because I know it's crazy now. Like they have, I remember seeing on YouTube, you can literally watch people play Barbies, and they have like storylines and stuff that they do. I don't know if you've seen this, but
No.
it's weird because for me as a kid, I was like, we would just do that. We wouldn't watch a YouTube video or a video of somebody playing Barbies. Like we would just play it ourselves, right? Or I guess in my case it was Brat dolls. That's like I don't know if you guys have Brat dolls where you are, but
I've seen these. Not specifically with Barbies, but other stuff. Nurturing the muscle of our imagination is an important piece of staying aligned to who we are, because our imagination is a key to connect to other dimensions and to those realms of healing and those realms of source and where we come from. So a lot of technology is not bad. Some children, that's the essence that they bring, that's the gift that they bring, and we want to nourish it, but we want to nourish it from an active place so that they're active in technology and they're not just consuming passively. Taking a storyline and working only with such storylines, as you gave in this example, is narrowing their imaginative ability. That's not a healthy process. um, and I think that's very challenging for parents today. That how do we allow them to be like others, and how do we give them the tools that we all use and need and are part of our world, but also in aligned ways, knowing to self-reference what is true, what is not true in terms of reality. um, AI is interesting because AI is like higher guidance. Either you have that higher guidance in yourself and you just listen within and you get the answers to everything, or you go to all those AIs and they give you the answers, but they're not aligned to you. It's a general answer based on others' answers, other confused beings, instead of just listening within. So I think it's very challenging, but a lot of families are doing that, are postponing giving the devices, are opening up to imagination. Um, and I trust in that future, in that balance, in those examples, those discussions. So many people are talking about it. It creates shifts. Maybe not as much as we want to see by now, but it is happening.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. I totally believe that too. It's like I think the past 10 years we, especially with Gen Z, we were introduced to like this, I think a little bit imbalanced relationship with technology globally, but I think now we're starting to see the effects of that. So now we're like, oh, we need to we need to shift this a little bit. I think more and more parents are becoming more aware of that. Um, to rebalance that and to really make technology, instead of fully depending on it, just integrating it in a more balanced way, um, okay, so one more thing. So I have so many questions already, but at this point, I think you might just have to come back onto the show.
We're
Especially
happy
when
to.
it comes to, you say your imagination is your connection to, to the divine, and to, I would even say your past lives too. So that's a whole nother podcast episode within itself. But I would really like to ask you and invite you, where do you see, the world or even the future generations? How do you see them transforming from this point moving forward?
Truly, so many things can happen and things can evolve in so many ways. What I do know is that a lot of evolved souls and a lot of evolved beings are joining us here. And I know that because at least those that I meet, I see their energy and I hear their parents and the beauty that they bring. They offer us an amazing invitation. As adults, as parents, as teachers, as grandparents, we have a responsibility to guide them to do good with those extraordinary abilities that they bring. Because confusion here is so large at the moment, and we see there are so many examples of amazing beings that came to do good and got confused on the way. So I'm not sure how fast we will evolve. How this evolvement is going to take place. I do have a trust with the beauty that those little ones are offering us. And I do have trust in parents because I meet so many amazing parents willing to change everything in their lives in order to embrace those invitations that the little ones who chose them are offering. And each such family offers us transformation one at a time, a family at a time. So, how fast it's going to be? Um, Light always comes from light. Love is always born of love. And we are all love in essence. Even those very confused human beings are love in their essence. So I trust that. I trust that, and I trust Mother Earth. Deeply, deeply, deeply trust Mother Earth. Mother Earth and Father Sky, we should say, in that balance and offering and reaching hand. And I hope for more humans to reach a hand back, because that's when we start to co-create. That's the seed of beauty.
I love that. Yeah. Oh, and yeah, like I said, we can talk a lot, because when it comes to, like, Mother Earth, I think this is a foundation. You talked about this throughout the episode too, but that's like a foundational aspect that I think a lot of spiritual people, I've found that when people who like newly awaken, they really reach for the sky, but they forget to ground on earth. And so it's just really important that, you talked about that in this episode, but then you also mentioned that, it's one of two, or one part of a whole, right? You need to ground on Mother Earth, be connected to Mother Earth,
You
um,
must.
and look up to the sky, right?
Yeah, and also remembering people like people that are awakened, they there is a tendency of reaching up and
Mm-hmm.
wishing to experience that oneness and or the knowing of oneness that we can experience when we meditate, when we connect to our essence. But we did not come here in order to connect to that essence. We came here to bring that essence with us in an embodied physical. So the most spiritual thing is not about whether you meditate or not, and you do this practice or that practice or believe this or that, is whether you walk in your path. So if you came to embody something very physical and you don't need this aware connection, then you don't need it. And that's more spiritual than somebody that meditates all day and uses mantras and whatever. So it's about figuring out what tools work for you in order for you to embody that spiritual essence here. We came here to walk on earth, experience earth, dance with earth. Um, then we go back home and then we can be that essence again. We're here to do something very literal.
That was so profound what you just said. And it's so funny because you said it in such an eloquent way that's really tapped into the spiritual community. And I've heard this said in so many different ways. But the importance of walking in your path, it shifts everything. Once you are in your path, once you do what you're here to do, like you said, you might not need to meditate anymore. You might not need to one of my friends, she does kundalini yoga. She was so devoted to it, and then all of a sudden she stopped it because she was in her path, she was in alignment, right? She didn't necessarily need that anymore. And so it's really important to really recognize that if you want the easiest way, you got to just be on your path and really live in your truth. So thank you so much, Ifrat, for being here with us today on Transformation to Expansion. Thank you for taking the time to really share your wisdom and, yeah, your words of empowerment for our audience. I know it's really going to change lives and really empower people to
Thank you.
be the truth of who they are, and know that their children are here to really empower them to live in that truth, and to also teach them how to really be in alignment and live in alignment. Um, so real quick, where can the audience find you? And we'll talk about the freebie real quick, the free gift you're giving the audience today.
The audience can find me on my website. It's my name, efrat.com. And my book, The Promise We Made, Three Universal Soul Promises We Made to Our Children, is both on Amazon and in all other stores. And you can also go to your little bookstore and ask them to order it. Don't let them say it's impossible. It is possible, even if they're not familiar with it. It's a very niche book. And on my website, there are many free resources, articles, and information for all those parents or parents to be and grandparents that are walking by or with spiritually aware children. And the freebie is a 6-week course that includes 6 tools that you can share with your children and offer them. It includes both simple tools, and most likely most people are familiar with, but on the how to share them with your children, what are the little details and tips of what to be aware of, what not to say, what do to say, and also coloring sheets coming with each such ebook. So that goes for 6 weeks once you join, and it's for free. And there is also a Facebook group with supportive videos for that. So that's a gift. They're welcome to have it.
Yeah, thank you so much for that gift. That's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
I love the coloring pages. Oh my God, like it's funny actually. In one of the journals I made like last year, I always put coloring pages in there. I'm like, just put them, like, even for the adults. I'm like, y'all need to just take a break. So I love the idea of coloring pages.
I think yeah, we're all children in nature, and for children, sometimes you don't want to explain anything. You just want to put a coloring page on the table, and they don't even need to color it, but they see the light wash coming down and say, "Oh, I know this," and it's happening. So natural and easy.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. And as always, y'all, I will see y'all next week.
Thank you.
Peace.